The internet is slow. Okay, it is 6:30 PM and we will begin this council meeting for December the 9th. And please rise for the playing of the national anthem. Seated. Thank you, everyone, for coming out on this not so nice evening, and thank you to those who are zooming in and joining us via the live stream. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. A motion comes forward from Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the agenda be adopted as circulated. Any comments in regards to the agenda? I see none, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, and that is carried. Next item is declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Does anybody have an interest to declare this evening? I have no hands up in the room. And I have no hands up on. You need to shut your volume off. Sorry, we're having a technical issue. Okay, we're off now. My apologies. Next item is in camera. There is no in camera session this evening, and obviously no reporting out. The next item is consent agenda for number 8, adoption and a receipt of minutes. Motion comes forward from Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the November 12th, 2024 council meeting minutes be adopted as circulated, and that the October 29th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes be received and filed. Any errors or omissions in any of those minutes? I have no hands up, so I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? It's carried. Next item is staff reports. And the motion comes forward from Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Lackey, that council approves staff reports as recommended at the December 2nd, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. So under number 9, there's a number of reports that came forward. Is there any comments to be made on any of the separate line items? If so, please raise your hand. Councillor Lackey, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, I just a question for clarification on 9.6, the vesting of the tax sales. Just a kind of a brief verbal overview, so everybody has a clear understanding of what this is about.
Okay. So 4, 5, and 6. My apologies. Those are separate resolutions. So we'll get there and you can ask the question on the individual. My apologies. It was just 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3, I believe. Any on those 3 items? Any questions? I have no hands up, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? It's carried. Next item is municipally significant event. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fode, seconded by Councillor Lackey, that the council deem the Small Halls music event scheduled for January 25th as municipally significant for the purposes of Alcohol and Gaming Commission's Ontario Special Occasion Permit process. Discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I guess, how much is the fee for having us give them permission? And would they get alcohol license if they didn't have our permission?
Madam Clerk?
Through you, your worship. So there is no fee for them to ask the municipality for deeming it a municipally significant event. Any fees would be through the AGCO. If we do not deem it a municipally significant event, they would not be granted their liquor license through the AGCO.
So they have to have this certificate from us to get their liquor license nowadays. So
That's correct.
It's changed. Okay,
Yeah.
thank
There are specific criteria under the AGCO because this is open to the public and they're selling tickets. It qualifies under their certain criteria for a municipally significant event.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to our clerk. Just second to Councillor Maybe's comments, would the real trigger point not be that those events are being held in our building?
Through you, worship. That is actually not a trigger point.
Is that right?
If it was held in our building and it was a wedding and it was invite only, it would not trigger a municipally significant event.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on that motion? I have no hands up here or online, so I'll call a question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Next item, 9.5, municipally significant event, moved by Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that council deem the comedy night hosted by the St. Lawrence District Medical Center scheduled for February 22nd, 2025 as a municipally significant event for the purposes of the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario Special Occasion Permit process. So same thing as the previous motion. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
My only question there is, do we know where it's happening? And again, it might be part of the trigger point that you were discussing earlier. Whether it's in a
Believe it's
municipal
at the
building.
Community building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I have no hands up, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. 9.6, motion is from Councillor Maybe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fode, that council approves the vesting of 2 vacant properties, roll numbers 0812-809-010-32812 and 0812-0 start again 0812-809-010-32800 in accordance with section 379 7.1 of the Municipal Act, and that council authorize staff to write off taxes in the amount of $7,768.63 for the roll number 0812-809-010-32812 and $7,838.02 for 0812-809-010-32800 on the lands vested by the municipality for vested properties listed in accordance with section 354(2)(a) and 3 of the Municipal Act. Motion is on the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and again through you. Having read the report, it might be interesting for other people who are online perhaps, just to take us through knowing where the properties are, knowing they're relatively useless, just what this means.
Go ahead, Phil.
Yep, you, Madam Mayor. So these 2 properties in question in the report, there's a picture there. So they're along the parkway along Old River Road. They're both pretty small, irregularly shaped lots, I'd say. The assessments on the properties are quite low. In speaking with the owner when they received final notice, not to speak for the owner, but in our conversations with them, they were quite happy to let the process play out and quite frankly weren't that interested in maintaining the properties. In speaking with our director of operations, he mentioned that the properties could be of use to the township for possibly road widening in the future, also for stormwater management and those purposes. So that is why after the unsuccessful tax sale at the end of October, we are recommending that we vest the properties and bring them into the township. And just for reference as well, the property owner does have another property. It's not in tax arrears at this time, but he has expressed interest in some further properties along there as well, if the township would be interested. So.
Good to know. Any other comments or questions for the director? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. So these properties are right beside the lighthouse. The lighthouse and they were in control of this campground that which these two properties used to be. I do believe.
No,
No.
no. I'll let the CEO.
So
jump in.
through you, so there's Brian's Lighthouse. And if you go east, yeah, there is that just a little slice of land that runs between Old River Road and the Parkway.
Mhm.
It's too narrow to ever build
Yes,
a house on
yes.
it. There's a hydro easement that runs right through the middle of it. It's for all intents and purposes unusable by anybody, but for us, we
Yes.
could use it for roads or,
Yeah.
you know, as Director Rainier's mentioned. So it's the east. It's nothing to do with the campsite.
Yeah, that's right. When I
Across the
seen
road.
when I seen the layout of the property in the one of the documents, I thought it was that property. So, okay, I see it now. Thank you.
Okay. And Deputy Mayor Fody, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Just for clarity, the way I'm reading this, I could interpret it a couple of ways. Is this property still not ours for 2 more years? Or is it ours now?
If council so wishes, sorry, through you, Mayor, if council so wishes to vest the properties, we can begin the process of taking the ownership of the property. I don't know if that answers it, or
Does it take up to
otherwise
2 years to?
no. So one of the alternatives mentioned, so there are alternatives. So one of them is we could go out and re-advertise it within 2 years. So we have
Right.
2 years to re-advertise it. If we want to go through the process again, frankly speaking, in our opinion, that it wouldn't likely be a successful sale. So we'd be going through a lot of expense of going through the tax sale in the process and not likely to have a different result than what we've already had. If you let the 2 years lapse, then it just goes back to as if nothing ever happened and we start the whole process all over again.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. That's what triggered my question, that in 2 years we could advertise it. And I thought maybe we didn't own it for 2 more years if we, no matter what, but I understand the situation now. Thank you.
Any other questions in regards to the motion that's on the floor? Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify something that the director just said. So this property owner does own another property in the township that is not in tax arrears. So when it comes to tax arrears, each property stands alone. There's no effect on the other properties if others are in arrears.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, that is correct. So to get to this point, a property has to be 3 years and 3 years in arrears on their taxes. And that is when the process begins. And there's a whole it's a very legislative process of notices and final notices. A certificate, a cancellation price would be set, which provides for another year for that property owner to get it within good standing. And then it's after that year passes, after the final notice, that we then go to tax sale property. So this is kind of the end of a multi-year, very long process. But each roll number is a standalone roll number and is treated individually and separately.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no other hands up at this point. So I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Number 10, information items, and there are none this evening. Number 11, action required items. 11.1, 2025 temporary boring bylaw. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fode, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the council grant 3 readings and final passage to bylaw number 2024-052, being a bylaw to provide for temporary borrowing by the municipality when required. Okay, questions in regards to this? Go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Again, just if it could be explained that this is more or less a housekeeping, it's happens numerous, I think it's is it once a year? Once a year.
Yeah. Yes, through you, Mayor. So really in layman terms, this is basically our overdraft limit on our bank account. That's probably the best way to say it in layman terms. So every year we are required through the Municipal Act just to get council's permission to essentially renew our overdraft if we were to ever go into it. I can't find the time that last time the township was ever in that position, but it's pretty much a housekeeping safety measure that all municipalities kind of have in place.
Thank you for the explanation.
No.
Any further comments or questions?
Answered mine.
I have no hands up. I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Thank you. Next item, appointment of municipal law enforcement officer. So the motion comes forward from Councillor Maybe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fode. The council approved bylaw number 24-053, attached to report 2024-010 as Exhibit A, being a bylaw to appoint a municipal bylaw officer, enforcement officer, excuse me, to appoint Daniel Barnett for the purposes of enforcing the bylaws of the township. So the motion is on the floor. Questions, comments? I have Deputy Mayor Fode and then Councillor Lackey.
Just to you, your worship, just a correction. When you read that, you actually stated 2024-010.
Thank
For
you.
those that are listening.
101. My apologies. Apparently I'm reading things backwards this evening. My apologies. Councillor Lackey, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. Not to be nitpicky, but just going through this, we're being asked to appoint this person, but we didn't hire him.
So you don't have any background on him? Is that what you're?
Well, I mean, you're asking us to approve this when which we have no part of. So I guess it's a procedural thing. I understand I'm not going to vote against it, obviously, but I'm just bringing this forward that I don't see how we appoint. That would be our CAO's job to
think
hire
it's-
this person. And
So I'll recognize the director and she can explain.
Thank you, through you. The Municipal Act requires that the law enforcement officer be appointed by council, as well as provincial offenses. They have to be appointed by the council. So we have hired Daniel Barnett. He started with us today, but in order for him to perform the duties of his job, he needs to be appointed. It's no different than appointing the chief building official. It's a required council appointment. So it's procedural in nature.
And again, I would ask the same, sorry, your worship, through you, I would ask the same thing about that appointment. We're asked to appoint these, and rightfully so, it's in the Municipal Act, but we're the ones responsible at the end of the day, but we have no part of the hiring or who these people are. So
Okay.
you're asking us to shoulder responsibility over something that we're not responsible for.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cian.
That's not quite accurate. Ultimately, I'm responsible for that officer's actions. Council just is fulfilling a procedural function to appoint him so that he is enabled or is now able to exercise the powers that come with that office. So if there's something that is negative happens, I'm the one who is responsible and I'm the one who's answerable for it.
And in turn, he's answerable to us as council. Okay, fair enough. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fode.
Thank you, your worship, through you. I read it just the opposite of Councillor Lackey. The way I see our appointment of this officer, he's enacting our bylaws and regulations. That's what he's representing. So I interpret it as that's why we are approving him. Either way.
Any other questions? Any hands up? Go ahead, Councillor Gura.
Thank you, and through you, your worship. If I remember correctly, we had hired a gentleman and it was set up And then about a month later or so, I believe he may have gone on to a police service somewhere, but we had a little bit of bio information. Would it be possible to get just a little bit of bio information on this gentleman? Something casual, not a freedom of information request or anything serious, but we did have a little information on the previous fella. Thank you.
Well, what I can say is that it was public knowledge that he was a bylaw officer for 3 municipalities previous to coming here. It was a shared, I believe, Edwardsburg, Cardinal, Prescott, and Township of Augusta. So, and he was there for a number of years. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd also note that an announcement was sent out by HR probably 2 to 3 weeks ago. So there's some more information in that announcement that was circulated to council. I don't remember all of it off of the top of my head, but I will just indicate that Mr. Barnett does have significant bylaw enforcement experience, and we're happy to have him.
Mm-hmm. I had the pleasure of meeting him today. He's quite lovely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Just for the record, I won't call a question just yet, but he does have a very pronounced English accent. So just put your brakes on and listen carefully because it's awesome. I love listening to him chat. He very, very nice gentleman. So happy to have him aboard. I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried.
Yeah.
Okay, next item is 11.3 speed reduction request, Old River Road and Ellisville Road. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the council approve the reduction of the posted speed on Old River Road, Escott Rockport Road to 200 meters east of Birches Lane to 40 kilometers per hour. That the council approve the reduction of the posted speed on Ellisville Road, Long Point Road to County Road 3 from 80 kilometers an hour to 60 kilometers an hour. That council enacts bylaw number 24-055, being a bylaw to reduce the speed on Old River Road to 40 kilometers per hour. And that council enacts bylaw 24-056, being a bylaw to reduce the speed on Ellisville Road to 60 kilometers an hour. Okay, motion is on the floor. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to our Director of Operations. Were these speed changes a result of yourself and our staffing seeing a necessity to do that, or was this driven by residents?
Through Your Worship, these requests came in through the portal, and also in person when we hosted the Rockport urbanization project.
I remember.
The Old River Road section was identified there. Ellisville Road came in through the portal and they had a petition attached to that as well too. So at that point, we've run them through the analysis and determined that the speed reduction is warranted for those.
Follow up, if I may. I know in other road changes we've had in the township, I hear more about it after the change than I did before. So I want to be prepared for these two. What percentage of residents on the road have to sign the petition to make this happen?
I believe, through Your Worship, I believe on the website it says that a majority of the residents affected. So for a section of road, we're looking for a majority of the residents on that section of road that support a reduction before we'll proceed with that. In the case of Ellisville Road, I think that we received something like 40 people signed the petition for that purpose. It was 2 pages long.
Okay. No, I was just looking for a little clarity because, as I stated, there was a couple other road changes before that it quite frankly looked legit to me until after we passed it. And then there was a lot of people had to weigh in on it. Thank you.
Councillor Gorell, did you want to ask a question? I see your microphone's off or on, I should say.
Yeah, I was in touch with a resident on Old River Road, someone who's been asking for a speed change there. And I said, hey, good news. This is coming up before council. And he read it, he phoned me back and he said, it already is 40 kilometers, 200 miles east. So I'm not sure, I just wanted clarity. Are we sure we're talking the right chunk of road? Because the residents were hoping for maybe 40 kilometers all the way to the lighthouse. And I drove the road and it's already posted at 40. So I'm not quite sure, or it was confusing. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. It's already posted.
Director Holliday?
Thank you, through your worship. So in the instance of Old River Road, it is posted at both ends at 40 kilometers an hour. A couple issues with that. Not only is it not posted correctly, but there's also no bylaw associated with that. So it reverts back to the Highway Traffic Act with a built-up area where the speed limit defaults to 50 kilometers an hour. So this is a bit of a housekeeping issue at the same time where now where the speed zone has been identified, it's actually bylawed and will be in effect because it will be signed appropriately.
Go ahead.
Follow-up question then. The residents had expressed concern for the last couple of years that the speed is too high on the paved portions of Old River Road, and they've been asking, I don't know whether they got fed up thinking of the petition, but I thought maybe they had put that petition in to the township, and that this could be extended beyond that 200 meters. As I say, that just takes you to the bumpy part of the road, and if it's bookkeeping or pardon me, housekeeping, which is apparently what you're saying it really is, well, is it possible to extend that to at least the lighthouse? Thank you.
Thank you, through your worship. We've not received a petition for the additional section of Old River Road. However, once you get past the 40 zone where it's currently marked, that is the end of the village. And that's where it defaults to 80 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted. And that section of road is currently posted at 60 kilometers an hour and bylawed.
And bylawed? Okay. So if the folks down in Rockport want it reduced from 40 till 60, they would require a petition to do that, correct, Director Holliday?
Yeah, they know that.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just so we're clear. I had Councillor Kelman's hands up, and then Councillor Jameson, was your hand up? Nope. Okay. Councillor Kelman, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Just regarding Ellisville Road, that stretch, I know of 2 accidents just in September within about a week that were both speed related. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured, but it is a bad stretch. I'm always concerned, particularly when there's a speed limit change, that it won't make a lot of difference. And it's obviously concerning the residents on the road if enforcement doesn't step in. So I wonder if there's any communication to the OPP when there's a change like this, so that maybe that there's a higher elevated presence, at least for a couple of weeks, so that people become aware that this change is going to be enforced.
Director Holliday.
Thank you, through your worship. This is actually the first speed reduction that I've done for the township since I've been here. So yeah, certainly that should be part of the process. That's what we've done where I came from historically. If we did any changes to the speed, then we always notified the OPP because ultimately they're the ones that will enforce that moving forward. So yeah, that will be part of the process moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Graf.
Thank you. Just again, a follow-up. There's a 25-kilometer speed limit on Front Street through Rockport. Is that bylawed or is that just a suggestion? Because 40 kilometers going through a walkable part of I'll call it the north side of the village, is a little high. And so you mentioned it's really just housekeeping. Well, what about the 25 and the rest of the village there? I know we're protecting the walkability of those roads when it's busy. Is that already handled under a bylaw?
Director Holliday.
Thank you, through your worship. The 25 section on Front Road, that's a great topic to talk about actually. So there's a couple of things with that one. That is bylawed. That was approved by council. However, 25 kilometers an hour is not actually recognized in the Highway Traffic Act. When we run it through the program, 25 kilometers an hour is not something that it's not an option. Now, council can, at their will, determine that the speed is lower than what's identified in the Highway Traffic Act, but it wouldn't be recommended. But certainly that there are several sections of road along the parkway that it had been reduced to 25 kilometers an hour. And we do receive requests for that, but program that we use that the Transportation Association of Canada has created doesn't recognize that speed either. So it aligns with the Highway Traffic Act, and that's what we use to evaluate road sections.
So essentially, does that mean that 25-kilometer in the village is useless? If I took it to court tomorrow, do I win saying it's illegal, it's not in the traffic act? You're just confusing the hell out of me here.
Well, I apologize through your worship. I'm not trying to confuse you. So what I'm saying is that 25 kilometers an hour is not recognized in the Highway Traffic Act, council can make the decision to set that speed limit. The process that we follow with identifying or with evaluating the roads that, going through the processes that have been established in the bylaw, it's not the speed that comes out of that process is not recommended. 25 kilometers an hour is not recommended, but should you decide as council to reduce it below that, that is your will.
But we have done that.
So coming back
Correct.
then to the petitioning of a road, if council was of a mind to change the speed limit in the settlement area of Rockport on the north side of the parkway below 40 kilometers, we can do that without a petition.
No, I think it still requires, the process still
I
requires. a
don't
petition.
think there was ever a petition that said 25 kilometers an hour through the village. I've been here 24 years and I've never seen a petition to that regard.
Director Holliday, do you have any documentation on that you recall on that?
The speed limit of 25 kilometers an hour along the parkway at the different sections was well before I came here. I think it likely predated the bylaw that we're following when we're evaluating the segments of road at this time. All I know is the rules that have been laid out in front of me and the processes that I have to try to evaluate them, and that's what I've been applying. I'm not sure how we came up with 25 kilometers an hour for those segments, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But you're just to clarify for my own clarity, Councillor Corral, you're basically saying that if someone or if a group of individuals in the Rockport area wanted to come to us and ask for a further speed reduction that is lower than what the association guideline, whatever that may be, recommends, we have the ability to do that. Is that correct, Director Holliday?
It would go against the bylaw that's been created, but ultimately, yes, you have that
We have that
ability to
authority.
make that decision.
Okay. I just wanted to have that clarity for my own self. So thank you. Any further comment or question? I see no hands up, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And carried. Okay. Mayor's update. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. We had a lovely tree lighting ceremony in Lansdowne on Friday night. And I'm trying to think what else has gone on lately. And I know that they had an excellent turnout for the decorating of the trees and the wreaths and Santa breakfast with Santa. So that was very well attended. So congratulations to all the winners of the decorated trees and wreaths. And thank you very much to the volunteers who made that event happen. I don't think I have anything else other than I would just like to recognize the staff here at the township office and at all of our municipal waste sites, as well as our public works. We got together to have a Christmas luncheon last Thursday and, shared some fellowship between one another and had a great turkey dinner put on by the curling club. It's really great to see as many people under one roof at the same time. So our waste sites were temporarily closed for that. We also recognized a number of individuals who had been with us for a number of years, and those are identified in a photo in our council catch-up, which is posted online. I'm trying to go by memory. We have Trish Cowan for 5 years. We have Chris Kirkland for 20, Derek Latimer for 15. That's terrible. My memory's going. It's right there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Trish Brown, 5 years, Mike Pryor, 5 years, Katie Lynch is 10, Derek Latimer was 10, and Chris Kirkland was 20 years. So it was great to recognize all these very dedicated municipal employees who serve our community day in and day out. Without their consistent and persistent attention to their work, we would be lost without them. So thank you very much for that. And just really great to get together. And it's not the same anymore. Christmas parties aren't done the same way, but still really important that we recognize everybody and get together. And I think that was it. New time for the budget meeting. So just for the public, I did say something to council prior to council starting. My apologies. There has been a double booking in the schedules with a county meeting that I have to attend on Thursday morning. So we have pushed the budget deliberations to 1 p.m. on Thursday. And again, I sincerely apologize for the double booking. We only realized the conflict. They moved county council up a week, and I did not detect that double booking until just last Friday. So thank you to the clerk and the CAO for making that nimble change. And thank you to everybody for their understanding. We might run a little bit later, but we have to work within our parameters because the clerk's going to get us there. But if you have had the lucky chance to read our budget binder, it is a very well laid out, very clean, succinct document. So thank you to Phil and his staff for helping, and all the staff, I should say, putting together their respective budgets. Having something to compare it to at the county versus here, this is a much more readable, easily digestible document versus the brick that I get from the county. It takes a lot longer to go through and really sort of tie everything together. So just want to say kudos to the staff. And there's some updates that were sent to you via email if you haven't seen them already, correcting a couple of small errors and some options when it comes to the funds that we received at the 11th hour from the provincial government regarding the OPP true up is essentially what it is. So we can debate that on Thursday, and I think that's everything. So did I miss anything? Does anybody else want to? We won't wish everybody a Merry Christmas because we got to see each other on Thursday anyway. So okay. So with that, we'll move into bylaws. Moved by Councillor Maybe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that 3 readings and final passage be granted to bylaws 24052, 24-053, 24-055, 24-056, and 3 readings and final passage be granted bylaw number 24-054, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands at its December 9th, 2024 council meeting. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Next item is adjournment, moved by Councillor Maybe and seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that council adjourn at 7:08 p.m. Non-debatable. All those in favor? All those opposed? And carried. Thank you, everyone. See you Thursday.